Hello, my name is Kim Persky, and today we're going to be talking about utilizing the accounts receivable and accounts payable functions in QuickBooks. So first we're going to talk about accounts receivable. First things to note, what is accounts receivable? Basically, accounts receivable keeps track of money that your business collects from customers for the goods and services that they provide. And another thing to note is that QuickBooks as a whole is set up in modules. So accounts receivable is one of these modules. And in order to use it properly, we need to make sure that we're recording invoices and entering payments correctly so that way we can use the module in its full functionality. So first we're going to go through setting up customers. You can look at this home screen here when you open QuickBooks and you'll see the customers right here. Or you can go up to the navigation tab where it says customers, click here and go to the customer center. This customer center screen will pop up and let's set up a new customer now. So we'll click on new customer and job and new customer. Here we are going to set up Kevin's Kickboxing. And there's a bunch of fields in here that you can populate as necessary for your business. The main things that you'll want to update are the customer name. If you have any phone number information, email address, you'll want to go ahead and put that in as well. There's also payment settings if you need to add anything in there. Your sales tax settings will be important if you want to note in QuickBooks whether or not this customer is one that you charge sales tax to. And so you can indicate that here. And then additional information, and then other job information. You're going to go ahead and click OK, and that will set up Kevin's Kickboxing. If you ever need to go in and change any customer information, say you found out that their phone number changed or their address changed, all you have to do is come back to this customer screen and select the customer that you want to change their information. You'll right-click on there and then go and select Edit Customer Job, and then you can edit any information in the screen as necessary. Next, we're going to go through how to set up your sales tax rate in QuickBooks. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to the Edit tab. We're going to go down to Preferences. And this screen will pop up. We'll make sure that sales tax is selected in this left navigation bar. We'll go up to Company Preferences, and then we'll select this box, Add Sales Tax Item. And then here you'll want to make sure that the appropriate type is chosen, so sales tax item, and then we'll just go ahead and put sales tax. And then you can indicate your sales tax rate for your company, so we'll put 8.25, and then it's also important to indicate the tax agency. So for us that will be the Texas Comptroller. We're going to select that. I'm not going to go ahead and set this up because it's already set up in this QuickBooks file, but you would just click OK, and then that would set up the sales tax rate for your company in QuickBooks. I'm going to click Cancel. And if your sales tax rate ever changes and you need to update that, you'll go ahead and you'll go to this List Navigation tab, and you'll go down to Item List, and then you'll see the sales tax amount down here at the bottom. And if you need to edit that, you'll just right-click and you'll click Edit Item, and it'll take you to a similar screen where we were at before whenever we set it up, and you can just change the rate here if you need to. Next, we're going to go through how to create invoices for our customers. So we'll go back here to our home screen, and here in the middle section, there's the customer section. You can click here to create invoices, or we can go up to the customers in the navigation tab, click here and go to create invoices. And so this invoice screen has a lot of different fields. One of the important ones to fill out will be this customer and job. We're going to issue this invoice to Kevin's Kickboxing. We'll also want to indicate the date that we're issuing this, so we'll issue this on January 5th. And then there's some additional information here if you need to populate that as necessary. And let's say that we're selling consulting services to Kevin's Kickboxing. So in the item code section here, we'll go ahead and type consulting service. And then we'll say that we charged him $2,000 for the consulting service. And consulting services is non-taxable, so that was set up as a non-taxable item. There's no tax there. We're going to go ahead and click Save and Close. Now we're going to go ahead and enter another invoice. So we'll go back up to the Customers Navigation tab and select Create Invoices. And if you need to issue an invoice to a customer that wasn't previously set up, you can set up a new customer through this field by clicking the drop-down menu and selecting Add New, and it'll take you to the customer setup screen as we were at before. So this invoice we're going to issue to Designs by Diane. We'll issue it on the 5th. And for this one, we're going to sell some remodeling services. And so that's not something that's set up, so we're going to go ahead and set up a new item. We'll click to Add New. We'll say that this is a service, and we'll put remodeling service. So it's important to put this item name and number field, and then also you'll need to populate the account down here, which is the income account that this money is going to go to for this service. So we'll just select income, and then we'll click OK, and now that's set up. And let's say that we charge Diane $1,000 for this remodeling service, and if you have a description, we can put kitchen in here if that's maybe where we did the remodeling. And then down here, it will calculate the sales tax at the rate that we had indicated. And then we can go ahead and save and close, and this will save the invoice. And now the next step that we're going to go through in the Accounts Receivable module is the recording of payments that we received from customers for the invoices that we had issued. And so it's important to record the payments correctly in QuickBooks in order to offset the invoices, so it's the completion of the Accounts Receivable module. In order to receive payments, you can click on this Receive Payments right here on the home screen, or back up at the Customers Navigation tab, and you can go down to Receive Payments. And in this screen, we're going to indicate who we're receiving a payment from. So here, let's say that we are receiving a payment from Kevin's Kickboxing. We'll select that. And you'll indicate how they're paying you, if it's cash or check. So let's say he paid us cash. We'll say the invoice was $2,000, and we'll say that he paid all of it. So we'll put $2,000 in the payment amount field. And then you'll want to indicate the payment date. And we'll say he paid us 10 days later after the invoice, so January 10th. And if there's any reference number that you have from this cash, you can go ahead and put that in here. And then it will select it to apply against the invoice. And then we can go ahead and click Save and Close. Now we're going to go ahead and record the receipt of another payment for the other invoice that we recorded. So we'll go to Receive Payments again. And this one will be from the Designs by Diane. And let's say that for this one, she paid us with a check. And so let's say that she's going to also pay her full amount. And down here, you can indicate if there was a certain check number that she paid you with. You'll indicate that there. And then we'll go ahead and save and close. And that will clear out that invoice. And so the next item in the Accounts Receivable module that we want to talk about are the undeposited funds. So typically when a customer either mails you a payment or comes into the office to pay you, it's not going into the bank account right away. So you might store it in a safe deposit box locked in your office, and then maybe you'll make those deposits to the bank weekly or so. So when you're receiving the payments, they're going into the undeposited funds account in QuickBooks. And so we need to clear these so that way we can show that we've received them in the bank whenever they're deposited. So in order to do that, we're going to go up to Banking, go to Make Deposits, and automatically QuickBooks will pop up that they know that there's some undeposited funds and they want to see if you deposited any of these. If you, for whatever reason, click out of the screen and then need to get back to it, you'll just go up to this Payments box up here in the Deposit screen, and it'll bring this window back. And so let's say that we went ahead and we deposited the one from Kevin's Kickboxing, Designs by Diane, and also this end-of-year receipt. We're going to click OK, and it'll show that these amounts were deposited into the bank, and you can add any additional deposit items as needed in here. And this is going to clear out our undeposited funds account. So we'll go ahead and we'll click Save and Close. And now we're going to go ahead and enter the total amount that we received from customers for the invoices that we issued. And so it's important to record the receipt of another payment for the other invoice that we recorded. So we'll go to Receive Payments again. And let's say that for this one, she paid us with a check. And so let's say that we went ahead and we removed the check from the invoice. So we'll go to Receive Payments, and we'll go to Receive Payments again. And now we're going to go ahead and enter the total amount that we received from customers for the invoices that we issued. And so it's important to record the receipt of another payment for the other invoice that we recorded. So we'll go ahead and we'll click Save and Close. The next item in accounts receivable that we want to talk about is the accounts receivable aging reports. And so we're going to go up to reports. We're going to go down to customers and receivable, and you'll see that there's a summary report and a detail report. We're going to go to the summary report, and then we'll go ahead and look at it for the last year. And so this report is important because it gives you an overview and a snapshot of accounts receivable at a particular date in the year. And you might want to look at this as necessary for your business. If you have a lot of customer activity and receipts coming in and invoices outstanding, you want to look at this more often. If there's not as much activity, you might not need to look at this as much. The main thing to focus on is getting the long outstanding items paid. So like this one it's pretty current, but these items over here are pretty outstanding in the greater than 90 days section. So we want to get our money from our customers and get them to pay us. There's different functions up here to filter by different dates and different days due, so we can edit those as necessary. Another note that I want to remind you of is that if you are familiar with the recording of journal entries in QuickBooks, we want to make sure to never, ever use that function of recording journal entries to record any kind of accounts receivable or accounts payable. So now we're going to go on to our next section of utilizing the accounts payable section. So we'll exit out of this and we'll go back to our home screen. So this is going to incorporate the vendor section. And so first of all, what is accounts payable? So accounts payable keeps track of money that our business owes to the different vendors that we purchase goods and services from. And this is another module in QuickBooks. So we must use bills and bill payments in order to properly use this function in QuickBooks. So first we're going to go through setting up vendors. So you can set up vendors by clicking on vendors here or vendors up in the navigation tab, and we can go to the vendor center. And this will show you all the different vendors that you have at the current time and any outstanding balances that you have with them. So we're going to go ahead and set up a new vendor. So we'll click on new vendor, select there, and it'll bring up this vendor screen. And we're going to set up Brandon's Bakery. And you can indicate as much information as necessary here. We would highly recommend that you enter their official company name. If it's Brandon's Bakery, LLC, we'll put that in there. Enter a phone number and an address also. And then there's also various tabs here on this left-hand side. There's payment settings. You can enter information there. In this tax settings tab, whenever you're starting to do business with the vendor, you want to go ahead and obtain a W-9 from them and put their vendor tax identification number in this field. And Stephanie will go over a little later about why that's important for 1099 reporting. But just know that this is where you'll enter that information. And then the account setting tabs, let's say for Brandon's Bakery, we typically buy muffins or some types of sweets from him, so they're meals and entertainment. So we can go ahead and assign that any bills that we have with Brandon's Bakery will be meals and entertainment expense, and that'll make it a little easier for input later. So we'll select meals and entertainment here. Another example would be if you're trying to set up CPS Energy, you could designate utilities to be your expense account here. And then there's any additional information, you can indicate that here. And we can go ahead and click OK. And then that will show you that Brandon's Bakery has been set up. Once again, if you need to edit any vendor information, their address change, their phone number, you'll just go ahead and you will right click on the selected one and then click Edit Vendor. And then it will take you back to this screen and you can populate any information as necessary. And then next, we're going to go through entering bills. So you can do that through the home screen. Right here is the Enter Bills. Or we can go up to the Vendors Navigation tab and select Enter Bills. And so in this screen, the important fields that we'll want to populate are the vendor. So let's say we're going to issue one to Amanda's Advertising. And then you'll also want to indicate the date that you received this bill from them. So we'll say we received it on the 10th. And then QuickBooks will automatically default this bill due date to be 10 days from the date that you're entering or that you showed that you received the bill. But you could change this if it's necessary for your business. We'll say that we got charged $2,000 for advertising, for Amanda's advertising. You can add a memo if you need to, say it was for signs or website work. You can put that in here. And then the accounting or the advertising and marketing account has already been chosen for the expense. And then the $2,000 amount has been entered down here. And so we'll go ahead and we'll save and close this bill. And now we're going to go ahead and enter another bill. So we'll go back up to the vendors. We'll go to enter bills. And we'll say that this bill is from Demis Furniture. Once again, you'll want to indicate the date of the bill and the bill due date. And let's say that this one is for $5,000 and we bought a sofa. And so this one's going to go against a fixed asset account and not an expense. So we'll go up to the fixed assets and we'll put that in furnitures and fixtures. And this $5,000 amount is in here. And we'll go ahead and save and close this invoice. Next, we're going to go ahead and go through how to pay bills in order to fully use the accounts payable feature. Since we entered the bills, now we got to go ahead and pay those bills properly in order to clear out. Next, we're going to go through how to pay bills in QuickBooks. So as we mentioned, accounts payable is one of the modules, and so we went over the entering bills function, and now we need to clear those entered bills with bill payments. And so in order to do that, you can go to the Pay Bills icon here on the home screen, or you can go into the Vendor Navigation tab and then select Pay Bills. And so QuickBooks will pop up this screen of all your outstanding bills. And so for this example, we're going to go ahead and pay Amanda's advertising. And then it'll select the amount to pay is the full $2,000. And then you'll select the payment date. And let's say we paid it 1/15/2014. And then you'll select the method of payment, so credit card or check. We'll say we'll pay this one with the credit card, and you'll indicate if you have multiple credit cards, which one. So we'll put this against the Chase card. And then we'll select Pay Selected Bills. And then next, now we're going to pay Demis Furniture for the sofa that we bought. And say for this one, we're going to pay it with a check. So if you accidentally go into the Write Checks function, and then you're going to put in Demis Furniture, QuickBooks will automatically pop up this window that says, hey, you have a bill with this vendor. Are you sure you don't want to use the bill pay feature? And you're like, oh yes, I remember I need to clear that bill. So you'll go to the Go Pay Bills button, click there, and it'll take you to the screen that we were at before. And now we'll go and we'll select Demis Furniture. And let's say that for this one, we're not going to pay this full $5,000. We're just going to pay $3,000. So we'll just enter that in this amount to pay column over here on the right. And then down here at the bottom, we'll say that we're paying this on 1/15. We're going to pay this with a check. And then I'll give you the option that if you're printing your checks through QuickBooks, you can click the To Be Printed. Or if you're assigning your check numbers manually, you'll click Assign Check Number. And then we'll click Pay Selected Bills. And now it'll prompt you to select the appropriate check number, or to enter the appropriate check number that you paid this bill with. And we'll go ahead and click OK. Now we're going to go over the last feature of the Accounts Payable module, which is the Accounts Aging Reports. And to view that, we'll go up to Reports and the Navigation tab. We'll go down to Vendors and Payable, and you'll see that there's an Accounts Payable Aging Summary and Accounts Payable Aging Details. So we'll go to the Summary Report, and then you can go ahead and we'll select the last fiscal year. And so why is this report important? It's because that it allows you to know what bills you have outstanding, and it allows you to see, are we able to pay these bills? Unlike the Accounts Receivable Aging Report, vendors are probably bugging you if you have really old outstanding items here because they want you to hurry up and pay them. So once again, you'll need to look at this report as necessary for your business. If you have a lot of outside vendor activity, you might want to look at this a little more to make sure that you're current on all your bills. Or if you have very few vendors, you might not need to look at this as much. And that completes this portion of the utilizing accounts receivable and accounts payable portion of the training. And now I will turn it over to Stephanie, who will talk about using memorized transactions and 1099 reporting.